Hey, I want to take a second today, even though I'm all sweaty and bleeding and dirty from working on my truck, to make a quick video here addressing the Parkland survivors. Or actually, we should call them the Parkland student activists, because that's what they are now. I mean, basically, they're paid activists, actually. They've been given rides on private jets, free hotel rooms, paid expense accounts while they're there, etc., from people like Bloomberg and Giffords. So, I mean, I guess they're paid activists now, so we should probably acknowledge that and call them the Parkland student activists. And, you know, I really don't blame them for what's going on too much, because they're teenagers and they want to be popular, and someone's giving them a platform and a lot of money and a lot of attention, and they're saying stuff to be popular. You can tell looking at those kids up on stage, it's a popularity contest, except for one of them, that David Hogg kid, who obviously wants to be an activist journalist. He's even said so, he wants to be one, which, you know, doesn't make any sense, because you can't be an activist journalist. A journalist is someone who has to be totally objective, and an activist is someone who's anything but objective. So those two things don't go together. We've got too many of those things already that don't make any sense. So we don't need another one of those. But all that aside, I wanted to address them as an adult to teenagers. Let's not call them children, because they're teenagers. And as a parent of teenagers, I think we all know that teenagers aren't right all the time. We have to watch them pretty close, or they'll do some stupid stuff. And I think that that's being neglected in this conversation between adults and teenagers on the world stage right now. We're all just patting them on the head and going, "You're so smart. I wish we were smart as you. You all have all the answers. When you grow up, the world's going to be wonderful." And that's just not real at all. And it's not doing anyone any good, especially when people's civil liberties are at stake here in this conversation. So I wanted to talk to them like a real parent to a real teenager. And I don't want to be associated with Rick Santorum, don't get me wrong. That man's a human scrotum. I think he's about as bright as a sack of hammers. And yes, I know I mixed my metaphor there. Don't want to be associated with him at all, but he kind of was almost right about something this week. He started off right, and then, of course, you know, the hamster on the little wheel in his head fell down, and he went completely off the tracks again. But he said that the Parkland survivors, or Parkland student activists, should stop looking to other people saying, "Here's what you need to do to fix this," and start saying, what could they have done to fix this? Because there was a way to fix this, and it isn't gun laws. There's a way that they could have drastically reduced the chance of this happening. And that was by not acting like teenagers. I watched the coverage of the Parkland shootings. And the first thing out of the mouths of these people, some of the ones that are you now seeing on stage acting like they have all the answers, was, "Yeah, we always knew this kid was going to be a school shooter. We used to laugh about how crazy he was, and no one wanted to have anything to do with him, and blah, 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 and he was a weirdo," and all this stuff. And you know what could have stopped this all from happening? What the most likely thing that could have stopped this from happening would have been? Is if y'all hadn't have done that. If you would have acted like you're as mature as you like to pretend you are. If you would have said, "Hey, there's someone in need," and helped him. Not laughed at him, not made him eat lunch alone, not ostracized him, not excluded him from events. If you would have actually reached out like a mature adult and included this kid, and then maybe listened to what his problems are. Not just immediately go, "You're crazy. You're not popular, so I don't want to hang out with you." If you hadn't done that, maybe things would have been a lot different. So maybe you do need to step back and take a little personal responsibility for the situation that you all created. This cliquish popularity contest that is high school is what causes a lot of these problems. And you all are the sole creators of that environment. You teenagers, us adults, are constantly there trying to prevent these things from happening. There's a reason why we have to be there supervising you teenagers. There's a reason we don't just give you a bunch of books and put them in a building and say, "Hey, go in there and learn," because we have to supervise you. So if we didn't have to supervise you as much, as far as excluding other people, ostracizing people, ridiculing people just because you think they're a little different, then maybe you would be a little bit more mature and you would deserve the attention you're wanting. But the very fact that that existed at that school, you've acknowledged it exists, kind of destroys your entire message. So all of you that stand up there, you know, the David Hoggs, the little buzz-headed chick with the communist flag on her jacket, you can talk all you want, but you don't know the answers. You can throw as many questions against the wall as you want, but you have no solutions. And you can say, "Oh, we grow up, we're going to vote everybody out," all you want. It's not true. Every generation's been saying that since I can remember, at least. You know, the beatniks, the hipsters, the hippies, everything. The millennials, everybody's been doing it. And then they grow up. And then they realize that this, you know, free love, everybody gets everything and no one does without thing isn't realistic. And they actually realize that they don't want the world to be like that. Because once they get to be an adult, they want to be able to enjoy the fruits of their labors and the fruits of their successes. And they want to be able to have personal freedom and not be required to do what's best for everybody else all the time. So your whole threats of we're going to vote people out, they're impotent. No one's listening to those. Because you're going to grow up and your opinion's going to change. If I look back to what I thought the solutions to every problem was when I was 17 years old, if someone had enacted those right now, we'd be a communist country. Because, I was like all other 17-year-olds and thought I had the easy answers. So, as an adult, I want to just stand up here and tell you, maybe you should take a look at yourselves and see if you're actually as mature as you think you are. Popularity contests aside and being up there on TV, and I know that's a great allure to all, has a great allure to all of you, especially the ones like David Hogg who want to make a career out of it. But is it really valid? Is it really deserved? If you created the situation that caused this kid to suffer even further and possibly cause him to do what he did, it definitely didn't help him not do what he did. So look at yourselves. Look at what you did. Look at what you said immediately after the shootings. Oh, he was crazy. No one liked him. We laughed at him. We ostracized him. Look at that. And tell me, is that the action of someone who has all the answers? Because it isn't. You're still just children. And you don't know what's right. You don't know what's wrong in every circumstance. And you're wrong a lot of the time, and your behavior in this circumstance was wrong. And you don't get to capitalize on it now by pretending like you're always right and you always have all the answers, because you're not. You're children. And it's about time someone who was an adult told you that.